Welcome, everybody, to Offside and Out of Bounds. We're going to be covering deadline day for Major League Baseball. I'm Adam. As always, I'm joined with Junior. Junior, are you ready?
Let's go!
All right, Junior, deadline day is upon us for Major League Baseball. So we wanted to just check in with everybody and give a quick kind of roundup of, what teams are looking for, what deals could be done. And then we wanted to kick off with some of the trades that have already been happening as this approaches. So why don't we do that? Junior, why don't you break down some of those for us?
Just kind of the ones that maybe move the needle a bit more than the others. So Seattle did pull in Tyler Anderson for 2 prospects. That was done yesterday, I believe. San Diego picked up Adam Frazier from Pittsburgh for 3 prospects. Oakland swapped Starling Marte for young prospect pitcher Jesus Luzardo. Brewers picked up Eduardo Escobar from the Arizona Diamondbacks for 2 prospects. The Reds picked up Michael Givens for 2 prospects. And the Yankees have picked up another bat. I didn't know they had problems with... Anyway, and not only did they pick up Joey Gallo, but they also gave up 5 prospects for him. So the market for bats just got a heck of a lot more expensive thanks to the Yankees.
You're welcome. They don't mind spending that money. You know what I mean? All right. So what we're going to do, Junior, is we're going to go kind of division by division, and then we'll go through the top 5 arms and bats and just talk about the second half real quick. So let's start off in the AL East, okay, where we're going to have the Boston Red Sox, who are leading that division with 62 wins and 40 losses. Why don't you break down what Boston might need here?
Yeah, so they're in a series with the Jays, and they're going to see a lot of the Jays over the next little while. But they need pitching. They definitely need pitching. I don't think Garrett Richards and Nathan Eovaldi are getting it done right now, nor are they living up to their expectations. Now, Chris Sale will be back at some point, but he's been off for quite a while, so don't know really how much you can expect from him. He will be rested, though. But again, there's no guarantees that he's going to be coming out the gate and running off 15 wins,
Yeah, exactly.
Now, they've got a solid lineup 1 through 9. Very patient hitters. They take advantage of their surroundings, and they know how to play. Yeah, they know how to play in Fenway. Now, if they can get a couple of arms, maybe middle to the front end of that rotation, and maybe another arm in the bullpen, they might be better to do that. Now, they are only a game and a half up on Tampa, so it's not too bad, where they're at right now. But the problem is that, sooner or later, you're going to have to go on the road when it comes to the playoff time. And they don't play as well on the road as they do at home. So they better hope that they can wrap up the division and just have home field advantage the entire way. Because if they don't, I think they might run into a bit of issues on the road.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's take a look at the Tampa Bay Rays here. With 60 wins, 41 losses, and right behind, nipping at the heels there, the Red Sox.
Yeah, so Tampa needs pitching. Yarborough, they got rid of Rich Hill. They traded him for Nelson Cruz. So basically, they subtracted more from one issue and solved another issue. Now, they're going to be in on a lot of the pitchers that are going to come up that we're going to talk about. They're going to be in on pretty much any arm that's available.
Yeah.
I don't think their staff is as strong as it normally would be. So I think getting a depth starter is going to be number 1 priority on their list. And,
what about a designated hitter maybe?
Well, they picked up Cruz, so that would have been their DH. But
okay.
Could they use another bat? I definitely think they could. I think Gallo would have been a really good fit there. But he's gone, so can't really say much about that. But there's still some decent bats on the way. You do have Kyle Schwarber, but I think his game got canceled because of COVID protocol. So I don't know if he's even going to be available to leave Washington if a trade does happen. So that remains to be seen.
Quarantine will be in full effect there.
Yeah.
So continuing in the AL East here, we're looking at the New York Yankees. You mentioned Gallo. What could they be looking at? I know you've had some words to say about the Yankees over the season so far. So go ahead, lace into them a bit.
Yeah. Yankees are a top 5 pitching staff. Yankees are a top 5 offense. Yankees are a top 5 team in the league. Blah, 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 blah. They aren't. They haven't been. Their offense is garbage. Their pitching has been horrible outside of Cole, who actually seemed to get better once the sticky substances came in, that ban came out, and he all of a sudden became a better pitcher. Very strange. Anyway, so again, they picked up Gallo. They're losing 5 prospects. I don't know how many other prospects they have in their system anymore. They're going to have to do a whole lot of something to get the farm system back up and running, because that's kind of going to kill them. They still need pitching.
Yeah.
You already gave up 5 prospects for Gallo, so imagine you're going to go after Scherzer. What they're going to want from you? They'll probably want Jason Dominguez, who is your number 1 prospect in your system. So we'll see what they do. But they do need a frontline starter. So, I mean, if you want to go on the cheap, you go look at Kyle Gibson from Texas. Guy 6-3 with a pretty decent ERA. I think another guy that would have fit really well would be Tyler Anderson, but he got picked up by Seattle, so that's not going to happen. So, I mean, there's going to be some work to do there. And again, this is a pitchers selling market. If you've got pitchers that are expiring contracts, they're looking to get rid of, everyone who is in playoff contention is going to be on them.
You want the rentals, right? Go a long way. Okay, moving along to our Toronto Blue Jays, who are coming back and playing back at the Rogers Center, aka the Sky Dome, this Friday, July 30th. Welcome back. What do they need?
They need Charlie Montoya to get his head out of his arse. There was nothing wrong with the lineup. I don't understand why he needed to play with it. Now, you think you're protecting Vladdy more, but you've opened him up to just get pitched into the ground. He's not been very productive since the move. I think you got to go back to the way it was. But outside of that, let's talk about the team and what the team needs. It's no surprise they need pitching. They need bullpen help, and they need, I'd say, probably a middle to the end of a depth kind of pitcher, starting pitcher. Yeah. I still like Merrill Kelly out of Arizona. 7-7, but he's on a bad team. So, I mean, you can get that done pretty cheap. And then I also do like Kyle Gibson. He'd probably be a back of the rotation type of guy. He's not too much of an upgrade over most. But again, you have to remember, you look at our IL and the kids we have in the system, there's still a lot of young arms that are continuously being called up. Alec Manoah is coming back. Chatwood hasn't been great, but he is coming back. Merriweather's coming back. So we are getting some decent relievers back. So it's almost like a pretty good deadline day for us already once these guys get back into the team. Now, in terms of closing, and I think that's the other thing that they need to address big time is closing.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a few guys that I like a lot. One would be Brad Hand out of Washington. Yeah. He's got 23 saves. He's 5-5. ERA got blown up. He has blown a few saves, but we've blown more saves than that anyway. I think Kimbrel's going to be way too expensive because the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Yankees are going to be fighting over him. And if the Yankees are giving up 5 prospects for Gallo, they're going to give up 10 prospects for Kimbrel. So we'll see about that. And then the other guy I do like that could be kind of off the board and cheap would be Ian Kennedy. The guy's got, I think, 15, 16 saves, decent record, decent ERA. So there are some kind of reclamation projects that could still be pretty stout for us. And then I think the one that I like the most is Andrew Miller out of St. Louis. Guy's been in the AL East. He's dominated the AL East in the past. He isn't closing right now, but he does have 20 strikeouts and 21 innings pitched, which is pretty decent. So I do like him as well. But I think until we get that, the resurgence of the second half is going to have to be put on hold until we get this pitching sorted out.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been talking about
home. Yeah, they're going to come home on Friday, and they're going to come home 15 games back. So, I mean, we've got to work on that.
Yeah, so we're 9.5 games back and 4 games back of a wild card right now. Okay, let's move along here to Baltimore. I mean, this is probably going to be one of the bigger ones because what don't they need? They need it all. They need talent.
The only thing they do need to do is get rid of everybody who's got a heartbeat on that team who isn't one of their prospects. So you're going to see guys like Mancini, Franco, Mullins, Galvis, anyone who's having a half-decent year that you can just get for spare parts.
Yeah.
I think they took a page out of the Jays book, how the Jays did that a few years ago, where they just kind of picked up decent role players in the deadline. They just flipped them for prospects. I think Baltimore's going to have to do a few years of that to kind of get back on track, but they need a strong farm system. Their top pitchers, I think one of them came up this year. He's 0-7. The other one's like 1-8. So, those top pitching prospects are not top pitching prospects at all. Like they're bums. But they do have Mountcastle and Adley Rutschman, the catcher, who's pretty highly rated on the MLB list. So they've got some decent positional players. But if you're Baltimore, just fire sale, get everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Get everybody out there who's got some value.
Yeah, even if not, package them in and get them out.
Yeah, exactly. Try to get some better players on that team because they're in the basement. So moving along here, we got the American Central. Let's kick it off with the White Sox leading that division with 60 wins and 41 losses. Yeah,
I think the Central's going to be pretty quick just because Chicago's the only one who's really doing anything. And they don't need much. If I'm them, I'm going to look for an outfielder with some pop in the bat. I think Starling Marte would have been perfect for them, but of course he's already gone. So a guy like that, even a Schwarber, that would be good for them too. So I mean, there's options out there for them, but they don't really have to do much. Their pitching staff has been on point all year. They got a great bullpen. The only guy that you're looking at is Luis Robert in the outfield, and he hasn't really had a good follow-up campaign to his pretty stellar rookie year. And then maybe someone gets Tony La Russa and Enema and just kind of vacates the ghosts from his body because he hasn't been the nicest of human beings behind the bench this year. So that's what I would look for them.
Yeah, okay. Moving along, we're going to take a look at Cleveland here, which, the pitching staff and bullpen have been pretty decent. But what can they use kind of to put them in a better position to maybe get one of those wild cards?
Well, they're 4.5 back of the wild card, right?
5 games back right now, and then 9 games back overall.
Yeah, they're not going to catch the Sox. But, for them, the pitching's been pretty decent. Bullpen's been decent. I mean, not stellar, but it's been decent. Their issue is just timely hitting. They're not getting it. I don't think they have enough power or presence in that lineup. So I'm looking for a bat. I'm looking for a first baseman, maybe like a CJ Cron. Maybe, you bring in Chris Bryant from the Cubs, maybe get him to play the outfield. I don't know. Or you have him play third and you move things around. They need some pop in the lineup. They need someone to protect their hitters, and they don't have it. So that's what I would look to do for Cleveland at least.
All right, and then moving along here, Detroit, which is 12.5 games back right now, and then 8.5 of a wild card position. What can they do?
Absolutely nothing. Sorry, Tigers fans. There's nothing you can do. Other than maybe trade Cabrera to a contender to see if he could get a ring before he retires, but you're not going to get much in return for him. The good thing for them is they're a young team, and they've got a lot of really strong prospects. Their farm system is really strong. So, I wouldn't be in a hurry to kind of start shedding anybody unless there's an expiring contract and you don't want the guy next year because you've got someone in the system waiting to take that role. Move that guy for some pieces, a pitching machine and a bag of balls or something. Sure. But other than that, the future is bright there. Spencer Torkelson, Casey Mize. There's a lot of guys there that are coming up that I think are going to, kind of entertain those Tiger fans for quite a while.
Okay. Kansas City Royals, they're 16 games back and 12 for a wild card.
Yeah, I think it's the clock has struck 12. The pumpkin has been turned back into from the cart. There's nowhere for them to go. So if I'm Kansas City, what I'm looking at is prospects. Now, the one thing that goes on in Kansas City is it's kind of, I would say, an outlier in baseball is the team values their players and kind of, almost says you're going to stay with us for the rest of your career. Crazy loyalty. Yeah. Now, Danny Duffy's probably the biggest target on that team that people would want. But I've always said Duffy doesn't want to leave. The team doesn't want to let him go, but he does. I think his contract's up in 2022, so there's only a year left on that. But I think if they can get something in return for him, and maybe say just come on back after we do that, kind of help us out. The other would be Whit Merrifield. I don't know what the market for him is going to be. I don't think it's going to be too good, so they wouldn't get much in return for him. But outside of that, there's not a whole lot that people are going to be calling them up for. So I think that's probably it with KC.
Okay. And then finishing it up here with the Minnesota Twins, who, thought maybe they had some good pitching, and maybe that's not the case.
It wasn't the case. They've been absolutely atrocious. I mean, I think they got swept by the Tigers twice this year.
Yeah.
There's pieces there, but I don't think there's a market for them. I don't think anyone wants Donaldson. They got rid of Cruz. I don't think there's any other positional players that they're going to be able to move that people are going to want. And then their pitching staff. I mean, outside of Berrios, who's been okay. You're not going to. Yeah, Hap too. I mean, but again, you're not going to get a huge return on these guys. So
No.
you're better off just unplugging all of your phones that day and turning your cell phone off if you're the GM and just ignoring that it's even happening.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's one way to go at it for sure. And then moving over here, we're going to look at the American League West with Houston leading the division at 63 wins, 40 losses.
Yeah, Houston needs to fix the bullpen. They did make a minor little in-game swap with the Mariners the other day. Don't think it's enough to move the needle and secure the division for them. Kind of a minor in my mind. But their pitching's been underperforming. I mean, Odorizzi and Greinke, they just, they've been okay. And in the West, there's other teams in there that can catch you. In fact, there's two teams that are right behind them that can catch you. So, it's kind of an arms race. And if Oakland is getting better, which from the sounds of it, they are getting better. So Houston's going to have to start pulling some major moves here to kind of keep pace ahead of them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I mean, that's kind of breezing right into Oakland, who's 6 games back right now of Houston.
Yeah, so Starling Marte is a huge addition for them. Now, they could use some depth starters. They did give up Luzardo, but he hadn't been too much of an impact this year.
Yeah.
Their bullpen's pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't think they need to play around with that. But, they're only 6 games out. So a sweep here, a couple of series wins, and they're right next to Houston.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, with pitching, maybe kind of a middle to a back-end starter might be good for them. So, again, it's always the same names, but a Kyle Gibson or a Merrill Kelly or, insert name A or name B here. Pick any kind of starter that's in that, not costing too much because, as we know,
they don't want to spend that money.
they're not going to spend prospect capital or cash.
No.
So it has to be done on the cheap. But I mean, if they stop playing Moneyball, I mean, Starling Marte is not a cheap piece. So, maybe they're going to stop playing Moneyball here and try and start winning.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving along here, Seattle Mariners 8 games back and then 2 of a wild card. Yeah,
so they've got some work to do, I think, when it comes down to it. They're right there. I mean, but the issue with them is it's been their pitching, and it's not that they're not pitching well. It's they're all injured. Everyone's injured. Like everybody.
We always say it's about the health when it comes to the baseball, right? Especially in the pitching staff.
But I mean, to not have all of your pitchers healthy, and you're only a game back of the wild card.
2 games.
Far into the season, 2 games. Sorry, it's pretty crazy. If they can add some pitching depth, maybe a couple of arms in the bullpen, not the ones they got from Houston, but like a couple of decent arms in the bullpen, and then maybe a mid-range kind of starter, and then I would say maybe like an Adam Frazier type of player that San Diego just got from the Pirates.
Yeah.
And if they can squeeze a little bit more out of Ty France and Mitch Haniger and maybe Kyle Lewis can step up a little bit, they could be right there.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Moving over here to the Angels. I mean, so many pitchers. Like everybody needs a lot of pitching. I think these guys are going to be in a similar boat here.
Yeah, they need pitching. But I think the season might be over for them. When your best position player is also your best pitcher, you got problems. Now, Mike Trout will probably go down in the history as the biggest deadline acquisition because they're acquiring him from the injury list ever. But I don't know he's had a long layoff. I don't know how impactful he's going to be for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be making a run unless they're going to look at, moving Joe Adele or one of their other high-ranked prospects, which I don't think they're going to. I think it's kind of phone home, see you later, we'll see you next year.
Yeah, just call it in.
Yeah.
And then finishing up there with the Texas Rangers for the American League West.
They've already done what they needed to do. If they don't move anyone else, they got 5 prospects for Gallo.
Yeah.
If that's it, that's it. You got 5 prospects. So thanks.
Well, they're not moving from there. So
no, but if they can move some more pieces, it'll be a pretty successful day for them.
Yeah.
They're one of those teams that are too hesitant to pull the trigger and just rebuild. Now I think they can. They've moved on from Gallo. If they can get rid of Gibson and maybe a few other pieces from there, they'll be well on their way to rebuilding.
Yeah. Okay, let's move over to the National League here. We're going to start out with the East Division here and looking at the New York Mets. So they're 53 wins and 46 losses.
Well, if history tells us anything, in a couple of weeks, the Mets are going to lose 1 or 2 pitchers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's usually what happens. So what do they need? They need bullpen help and maybe a depth starter. The Grom carried them for the first half of the year. This offense is just I don't understand how a Mets fan can sit through a 9-inning game with this team doesn't score runs. They've got the worst run production in the entire league, yet they're in first place. Go figure. So they're 3-up on the Phillies. I think if they stand pat, the Phillies make a move or two, then I think the Phillies could probably overtake them. If the Mets start losing some arms, their bullpen can get rattled, so they need some more kind of centering depth there. But other than that, again, it's just every team, it's pitching.
All right, let's take a look at the Phillies from Philadelphia here, and they're 3.5 back.
Yeah, they've got some issues in the outfield. I think they need to kind of fix. They also need to get some pitching in there, and maybe 1 or 2 arms in the bullpen, just as in case stuff happens. They're within striking distance, so it's a couple of good weeks. We've seen it in Toronto. After the deadline, in 2015, we got a couple of decent pieces, and it was just an insane finish to the year. So, sometimes you get a big piece that's going to bolster everyone else in the lineup, and it's going to pump everybody up. And there's going to be, for every 2 steps one team makes, this team's going to make 10 steps because they're just so jacked. So I think Philly, they need to make a big splash. I think they need to make a big splash.
It's really difficult in this division as well in the NL East is if you take a look at the games back, Philly's 3.5 games back of the division, but they're 7 games back from a wild card because the division
is weak.
Just isn't keeping up with the rest of the National League. Yeah. So that's actually pretty crazy. That's the only division where there's that flip side on the wild card, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Card. Okay, so we got Atlanta.
Yeah, so I think Alex Anthopoulos has got a bit of work to do. He's got to basically pick up someone to upgrade at third base. Austin Riley just hasn't been good enough. And I think he's got to find another power outfield option. They did pick up Jock Peterson, so it was a great pickup for them. They didn't give up much in return. But the loss of Acuna is huge. I don't think, if you subtract Acuna and put in Peterson, that it's going to be a wash. They need some more power out there, maybe a little bit more speed. But again, they might be a little bit handicapped, and I think they could probably use a little bit of pitching depth too.
I mean, they can make a push here with being only 4 games back, of the Mets. I mean, there's an opportunity there for them to, any one of those 3 teams can kind of move up and down here.
The race is on.
Yeah, it's on. And then you got Washington, which is, 7.5 games back. So who are they going to be looking at?
Well, I'll tell you Washington's motto. It's everyone but Soto. Everyone. So Trey Turner, gone. Scherzer, gone. Schwarber, gone. Everyone. Robles, gone. Everyone's gone.
Okay.
Or they should
just
be.
Pull the trigger and rebuild.
Pull the trigger, break it down, and this is a team that has had the ability to move Max Scherzer for the last 3 years, and they just can't pull the trigger because they can't get a good enough deal done. I think this is the year that he is going to go. we'll get to kind of who's interested because pretty much everyone under the sun is interested.
Yeah.
This is a front end starter, so I think that if Washington can move those three pieces, so I'm talking Scherzer, not Soto, everyone but Soto,
Yeah.
Schwarber and Turner, you move those three pieces, I think you get a haul. You'll get a haul of prospects and maybe even decent positional players off the actual team right now. So I think this could be a really good deadline for Washington.
Okay. And then finishing up the East there, you got the Miami Marlins. Probably looking to get maybe younger, I would imagine.
Yeah, for them, it's anyone who's on an expiring contract and they have no control over, just get rid of them. They've got a really young core there. When you look at Sandy Alcantara, Sixto Sanchez, Trevor Rogers, Lopez, Hernandez, they've got a decent staff, very young and raw. If they can develop them, I mean, they've got control of them for God knows how long.
Yeah.
And then you've got a decent piece to build around in Jazz Chisholm. So, if I'm Miami, expiring contracts out, see you later. And that's it. Don't touch anybody else.
Okay. Let's move over to the National League Central here. We're going to kick it off with Milwaukee, 59 wins, 42 losses.
Yeah, they need a bat. I think, Eduardo Escobar is a nice pickup from the Diamondbacks, but I don't think it's a max play in terms of what they can do. I think they need more. The issue is that you're going to be looking at upgrading your positional players now. So whether that's bringing in Baez, now you got to move Hura, bringing in Bryant. So at that point, you have to really start thinking about how it's going to affect your team. Yeah. They need more power at the end of the day.
Okay. And then we got Cincinnati, who's 7 games back and 5.5 of a wild card.
Yeah, so the good thing for them is they do have Sonny Gray coming back. The bad news is that Luis Castillo has been absolutely brutal and atrocious this year. I think for them, they need to get some bullpen arms and they need a depth starter for sure. Outside of that, there's not much. You just hope Sonny Gray can come back and be pretty productive when he gets back here. And then hope that wakes up Luis Castillo, and then you pick up a decent kind of back-end starter and some bullpen arms, you're good.
Yeah, take a little pressure off that starting pitching.
Yeah.
Moving along to the Cardinals, St. Louis. They're sitting at 8.5 back and 7 of a wild card.
Yeah, they're done. They've been waiting too long for this team to kind of recreate that magic from 2016. It's not going to happen. So the good thing for the Cubs here is that you've got a lot of guys that actually have a market. Chris Bryant, Javi Baez, Hendricks, Anthony Rizzo, Ryan Tepera, Kimbrel. You should be able to get a king's ransom for these guys. And almost to the point where if you can get ready prospects, like MLB prospect ready, they could have a pretty decent young team.
Okay. Sorry, I just want to jump back to St. Louis. Just touch on what they needed.
Yeah, for them it's pitching, and not the bullpen type, the starter type. They've got everyone down right now. Flaherty's down, like all their pitchers are their pitchers are down. So 7.5 games back of the wild card, I still think that's a lot of distance to kind of make up. That's a lot of teams to jump over. I think it's hard to see that happening. So if I'm them, get some expiring contracts or guys that maybe you're underutilizing or guys you picked up that you didn't really need, but you picked up because it was a good deal. Look at getting those guys, turn them into prospects. So like an Andrew Miller, I definitely see what you could get for him. Outside of that, I don't think they're going to touch anyone kind of 1 through 9 positionally. Well, 1 through 8 positionally. Damn National League. But that's what I would do. Kind of leave your offense alone if you like it that much, and just kind of play around with your pitching.
Okay, so Pittsburgh's in the basement. What would they want to do to try to get a competitive team going for next year?
That won't happen. I don't think they're going to be competitive for a few years.
For many years.
Yeah, so for Tyler Anderson, they picked up a couple of prospects. That was one of 2 guys on that team that could move. The other is Richard Rodriguez. We've talked to death about how of a scary proposition that guy is, considering that everything is down. in terms of spin rates, and everything is up in terms of ERA after the sticky substances ban was put in. They didn't get a decent return, I think, for Anderson. Don't know if they're going to get it for Rodriguez. They have moved quite a few guys and picked up quite a few prospects and some more minor moves, but again, those are very minor prospects. They're not. Nothing is moving the world right now. So I think, at some point something's got to break, and they're going to have to figure it out. But until then, get ready for the offseason, Pittsburgh.
Okay. Let's move over to the National West here with San Francisco sitting at the top of the division with 63 wins and 37 losses.
They don't need to do too much. I mean, if it's not broken, you don't need to fix it with anything. But they are in on Keg. I keep calling this guy Keg Kimbrell. Craig Kimbrell. They're in on Chris Bryant. They're in on Trevor Story. So I think they see an opportunity right now. The fact that they've got the Dodgers and the Padres in their rearview mirror to really step on the gas. Their pitching has been unbelievable. Their bullpen's been unbelievable. So, I think if they can add another bat, maybe solidify that lineup, a little bit of pop, I think it'll go a long way for them.
Swell up a little bit and make it count in the playoffs, right? I mean, you got the Dodgers coming up next right there behind them, and they're 3 games back of San Francisco, but, +3 on the wild card.
Yeah, and the next 2 teams we're going to talk about, it's kind of scary when you talk about the luxury tax in baseball at $210 million.
A lot of money.
Yet the Dodgers are still in on everybody. They're already 30-40 million above that threshold.
They want to win.
Well, they also have close to $100 million of exceptions on the long-term injured list right now as well.
That helps.
I don't know how they can do this. They don't need much. I mean, it's a pretty well-rounded team. 1 through 8, it's a lot of star power. Their bullpen, their starting pitching. It's names. It's nothing but names. I don't know who else they can add, or what prospects they have left over the last few years to even give up in return for somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to get anything done, to be honest with you, unless they're taking guys off the team right now.
Yeah. Okay, so then we move over to Colorado, which, it's a season for them. It's basically over.
Yeah, they still got some work to do, though. They got to get rid of Story. They got to get rid of Cron. They should probably get rid of Gray, get some prospects in return for them.
Yep.
And rebuild. I mean, if you're you didn't hold on to Arenado, so why are you going to hold on to Story? There's just so much desperation in Colorado. They need talent. They need young talent. They need like 5-star recruit talent. Like they need something to make people kind of like, oh wow. Because if I'm a Rockies fan, I'm not really interested in what they're putting out on the field every day.
Yeah, likely a similar story for the final team here, which is the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah,
more young talent needed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if they can find someone to take Madison Bumgarner off them, I think that they would do themselves some justice, even though he's absolutely horrible. His contract is horrible. His pitching's been horrible. His breaking ball is horrible. His fastball is horrible. There's nothing positive about this guy's time in Arizona. They've got some young pitchers there, like a Zach Gallen, a Luke Weaver. They've got talent there. I think positionally they need some help. But unfortunately, I think to get that positional talent, you're going to have to give up some of this young pitching. So, I'm still outside of the Escobar move that they made. I think they got to move. They got to move a Merrill Kelly for sure. I mean, if I'm Arizona, I probably want to hold on to him because he's shown a lot, kind of in the 20 starts he's had this year, 7-7. So he's pretty decent, but. Unless they start moving away from some of this young pitching they've got, they're not going to get the young hitting they need.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a wrap on the team-by-team breakdown of kind of this deadline day. Let's take a look at the top 5 arms that likely could very well be moved, and a lot of teams will be chasing here. So we got Scherzer. He's got 7 wins, 4 losses, ERA at 2.83 and 142. What do you think?
Well, if he gets cleared, you can see here that the Yankees the Jays, the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Padres are all over him. I think that it's going to take a lot to get this deal done in terms of the prospect capital going back. And if Washington is moving everybody, they are going to want MLB ready people now. I don't know if the Yankees have that in their system. San Diego might, if they're going to toss Hosmer back, they're probably going to give up one of their top 4 prospects that are MLB ready to kind of sweeten the pot for them. So, I mean, that might be of interest, but they'll have to be more on top of just Hosmer and a prospect. They'll probably need to be like 2-3 prospects and 2 positional players. So that remains to be seen. But I think Scherzer does move as long as he clears the COVID protocol. I don't know what's going on there if he was involved, but if he can clear that and they can get a deal done, I think he's going to go somewhere. I think it'll probably be on the West Coast. I'd like to see him in San Fran, to be honest with you.
Okay. And then you got Duffy here, Kansas City.
Yeah, this one. So obviously the Giants are in on him. Same with the Brewers, 2 teams that we talked about needing a little bit to get over the hill.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling that Duffy's not going anywhere. The whole loyalty thing we talked about with Kansas City, I think he ends up staying. I mean, if someone can pry him away, I think it's going to take a pretty big package for Kansas City to emotionally let go of Danny Duffy. So I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. And then next up, we got Gibson.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to get moved. The one piece I didn't think Texas would move was Gallo because they were talking an extension with him. Yeah. So if they got rid of Gallo, I think that Gibson is definitely going to go somewhere. I wouldn't mind seeing him in Toronto. But, it's all going to depend on what kind of package can get put together because, I mean, there's obviously a few guys in our system that are absolutely untouchable that should not even be talked about, but I think everyone's going to want to talk about those guys. So it's going to be tough. I think it might be tough for the Jays to get any deals done, to be honest with you, because they're all going to be looking at those top 3-4 guys that we're not going to move.
Yeah, exactly. And then you got Hand. Nationals.
So the Jays did reach out to Washington about Hand and another reliever as well, just to see what their package price would be. And I'm sure they probably said Moreno or Martinez, and we said, okay, thanks, have a great day.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then we got Kimbrel, the Cubs.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be one of those deals where he might be packaged with one of the other guys, like a Baez or a Hendricks or something, because I think the prospect ask for Kimbrel is going to be quite high.
Okay.
Jays definitely aren't in on him. They're not looking to invest that kind of prospect capital for a guy who's not really under control that much.
Okay, let's take a look at the top 5 bats that'll be sought after and potentially moved during this deadline day. We'll start off with Baez here.
Yeah, so there hasn't been a whole lot of kind of chatter about Baez. I think he's a bat that could help people. I think his defense is pretty decent, middle infielder. So if they're looking for someone with depth or some pop in the bat, he definitely has it. Yeah. I think he could definitely help any team that's kind of looking to get a little more pop in their lineup. But there hasn't been a lot of chatter about him because I think the prospect ask, again, is going to be pretty high. Yeah. And I think Chicago might be trying to kind of lock him up long term, even though they are looking at rebuilding. I don't know if Baez is going to be interested in sticking around to rebuild, though.
Okay. And then let's take a look at Bryant here. 18 home runs, 51 ribbies. Not bad.
No, it's not bad. And I think San Fran is all over this kid, and I think he's going to end up in San Fran.
Okay. That'd be a good fit. And then you got Cron with 14 homers, 43 RBIs.
Yeah. In terms of the average on the slugging, it's decent. OPS is a little bit under 900. I mean, obviously want to see that a bit higher for a guy who's, hitting 14 to 20 home runs a year. But I think this will be a Milwaukee. I think he's got Milwaukee written all over him. Okay. And if not, I think that it'd be probably an American League team that needs a DH. He could be definitely one of those as well.
Okay, and then Schwarber with 25 home runs, 53 RBIs.
Yeah. See, again, this is another guy who doesn't have a whole lot of chatter around him. I think if you're looking for someone with some outfield pop, so Mariners. Who else? the Mariners. I think this guy's a
Seattle.
great fit for the Mariners. Yeah, I think the Seattle Mariners is a great fit for them. Or any American League team that's looking for a guy that can just smash the ball as a DH. I mean, he'd fit in really well there as well.
Okay, and the last of our top 5, we got Story.
Yeah, so obviously the Yankees are there, the White Sox. I don't know why the White Sox are talking about Trevor Story, and then Milwaukee obviously trying to upgrade. I'm kind of caught in the middle here on whether this even goes down or if the ask is just too high. I mean, because Colorado absolutely got ripped by St. Louis in that Arenado deal. They got absolutely nothing back but some used shoes and a pitching machine. Like they didn't get anything back for Arenado. Yeah. So I don't know if Colorado's going to jump to move him. I mean, that was even in the offseason. It wasn't even the deadline day acquisition. So I think they have to move him. I just don't know if it actually ends up getting done. It's almost like they're just inept at doing anything proper in Colorado. So I'd be surprised if he moves, to be honest.
Okay. What we're obviously past the halfway point here, but as the kind of final turn of this season, as they make all these teams make a push, what are you expecting to happen with some of these teams? Is there going to be a lot of movement, or do you think we're going to settle in around where a lot of the teams are right now?
I still think there's a lot of movement to come. I think there's a lot of teams that are still going to kind of shock and surprise.
Okay.
I think that the AL East is going to get very entertaining in a couple of weeks when you've got 4 teams that are 3 games out of a wild card. Division lead is 9-10 games between Boston and Toronto. So, I mean, that's a pretty tight race, 4 teams in one division.
Yeah, 9.5 games back.
9.5. And
they're coming home. So what kind of, what's the expectation there? What's that feeling going to be like, knowing that they're playing for their fans at a limited capacity? But can that give them the boost they need to make that push?
I think it will. I just don't know how much that's going to translate. If Montoyo can stop trying to play and just put together the right lineup.
They're crushing home runs before the All-Star break.
They were. And since the All-Star break, there's just been too much tinkering. I think the bench coach has to stop trying to guess at when to put a switch on, because they've been getting burned by that lately. I think you just have to get back to old-time baseball, just bases to bases, station to station, and stop trying to change the game. Just, you were playing great in the first half. Just go back to that. Find your way back to that. I also think that the NL West is going to be insane. If we talk about San Fran adding a couple of guys like a Chris Bryant and a Max Scherzer, what is that going to do to that race?
It's crazy.
It's just the riches that lie out there on that coast. I mean, the baseball that's going to get played down the line is going to be pretty nuts.
Oh, in California, man. I mean,
I know
they don't mind spending the money. Players want to go there. They want to play in this weather, and
they want
to live that lifestyle. And you're going to see talent wanting to go there and seeking out, that paycheck from these teams.
Mm-hmm. And then I think that last but not least, the Mets are going to come back to earth. And
even without those pitchers that they're going to lose in a week?
Even without them, they're going to come right back down to where they should be. And I think that the Braves are going to make some moves to get them where they need to go. I don't think Alex Anthopoulos is waving the white towel. He's getting hungry and he wants to win. And I think the Phillies are going to get above them too. So I think that's going to be another interesting division to watch. And then, that's probably what it is. All the other races are pretty almost decided, but would take a miracle for any of those other teams to kind of give up the leads they have. So it's going to be a good second half.
Nice.
Good second half.
Yeah, I can't. I'm looking forward to playoff baseball. That's when it gets real exciting. Okay, awesome. Well, look, we want to thank everybody for joining us here for our deadline day. Please follow us on our Instagram page at Offside and Out of Bounds. You'll see it up there. If you liked our show today, we'd love a like button, click, and please comment below on what you thought, who you think is going to be moving around. We answer and reply to every comment, so please let us know what you thought. And ultimately, if you want to join our channel, we'd love to have you. So please hit that subscribe button. We're on our journey to 100 subs, and we'd love to have you a part of our channel. So for everybody here at Offside and Out of Bounds, Deadline Day, bringing to you, I am Adam.
I'm Junior, and we're going to see
See you
real soon.